Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abby, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abby, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abby podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Abby. I am your host. My name is Abby, and welcome back to today's episode. Today, as I'm recording this, the election is going on, and I'm not going to talk politics because now's not the place that I do that. But it is a little bit of a weird day. Weird feelings in the air. I'm not somebody that talks politics a lot with a lot of people. I keep that very close to my chest, but I do a lot of research and I listen to a lot of stuff. And I do think it's important and it's a value of mine to be very integrated with your community and really do what you can according to your values and what you think will make people's lives better. When this episode airs, I think it's 2 days after the election, so I don't know exactly what is happening. And with that being said, I wanted to discuss something that I'm not going to talk politics specifically, but I did want to talk about how my OCD kind of attacks politics and just some of the weird themes within politics that my OCD has clinged on to. And yeah, it's just been weird. I'm not going to talk about that much, but it did kind of remind me of certain times with my OCD that it really clung to my political party or, the way that I think government should be run. And I remember there was a point where, and it still happens, I think when I'm listening to a lot of politics, sometimes it's just really interesting and I find it's very helpful to me because I like to know stuff, but at the same time it can trigger my OCD like crazy and it can make me go into worst case scenarios and a lot of anxiety can be built up, especially during this time. During election, there's just a lot of contention and there's just a lot of uncertainty and unknown. No matter what differences we have with political views, there's always a respectful way to go about everything. But I am also a big believer in doing what you believe and finding those core values and moving towards those. But I think I've learned the past couple of years how to treat others with respect and understanding and meet them and try to understand why they came to a certain conclusion about stuff. And I think that that's way more helpful. And when I approach everything through that lens, it does make my anxiety lessen because it's not as black and white anymore. A lot of propaganda and a lot of stuff with politics is very triggering because it is very black and white and it is very intense normally. And it's okay if you need to take a break from all of it. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit because it's probably really common considering it's election time and I don't know who won or whatever. But before we get into that, we're going to do dubs and L's. My dub for this week is my little brother got home from his church mission. Almost all of my siblings have gone on a church mission. It's nothing new to have a missionary come back. I went on a mission. It's basically young men, young women that want to serve and go teach the gospel and just talk about Jesus all day and help people and serve people for 2 years. And they put everything on hold to go do that. That's what he did. And I'm really proud of him because a lot of people get flack for going and serving a mission. And I feel like they get made fun of a lot about like, oh, you loved your mission so much. It's fair if that's all the person talks about. But I think that's an extremely one-sided perspective and a really pessimistic perspective on people serving missions because most of the missionaries that I know, and not all of them are perfect, not all of them really wanted to go. Some of them were forced. Some of them were like kind of guilt-tripped into it or whatever. There's a lot of those cases, but most of the time people have amazing experiences and they really do put their life on hold for 2 years and they push through some really hard times, but they also help so many people and they just serve and you kind of learn what life kind of really is for a lot of people outside of your little bubble. But I'm not going to speak to everyone's experience. I went on a mission and I came home early because I was sick, and I also just had a lot of mental illness happening that I had it built up, but I still loved my experience. But I don't really want to share a lot of my experiences because some things you just keep close to your heart and close to your chest. Anyways, that was a rant. I just get protective. My youngest brother came home, and it was very nice to see him. He left so little. I mean, not really little. He was bigger than me, and he was pretty strong before he left. And when he got home, maybe it's just because I haven't seen him in 2 years, but he seemed so much bigger, like more, he just came home more mature and more, he just came home with better stature. I don't know how to explain it. He's just changed. And some people are weird when they come back from their missions, and rightfully so. You've been completely taken out of normal day to day, so you're going to be freaking weird. Anyone would be. He's pretty normal, and he's just learned a lot, and super proud of him. It's a really hard thing to do. It's something that I really respect when someone actually goes and serves for 2 full years and really takes it seriously and really tries to just help people and teach people and give them an option to learn about Jesus is really all it is. Super proud of him. I'm a proud older sister. That was definitely a dub to be with the whole family. The L this week was, there's something about when you go home that really brings out like an angsty teenager part of me, and I don't know what it is, but I become more emotional sometimes, and usually in a negative way. So I have to work on that. So whatever is bringing that side out of me, I need to not let it do that, and also recognize things for what they are. And when I feel triggered, it's probably because I grew up there. So anything that's happened when I grew up, like just a place, I feel like it comes out. When I go visit my family, like a lot of people for the holidays and anything, that's when my mental illness does start to creep up again. And I feel like a lot of feelings come back. And so when I was there, they did. And I had a lot of kind of setbacks with my OCD. And I feel very confused sometimes with how I'm doing, because sometimes I hope that I still have OCD, because it just sometimes still feels like a roller coaster of emotions and just thoughts. It's like exhausting. So it was fun, but also I feel like I was kind of disassociating a lot, which happens a lot when I go home, and I don't really know why. So that was probably an L. A lot of derealization was happening, and these past couple of days I have also been, I don't know, just heavily disassociating, where I feel like the feeling of watching yourself almost like you're kind of out of your body and nothing feels real. I don't know, it's just kind of scary, but I'm used to it. But it's also like, I don't want to feel like it anymore, I had an episode about depersonalization and derealization, and one of the things that helped the most is by not being scared of it. And even if you feel scared of it, by not acting like you're scared of it, just kind of playing pretend like, oh, this is cool, I feel weird. And that's helpful. But it's also okay, I think, to sometimes recognize that it's exhausting. And yeah, those are really all my life updates. I'm taking my engagements this week. I'm really excited. Chelsea styled me and Keaton. I kind of gave her the inspo for the vibes, and so she curated our looks, and so you guys will see those soon. I'm really excited. I wanted it to give like timeless storybook, just cute, romantic notebook vibes almost. And Keaton was not super excited about his outfit because it's not his normal day-to-day wear, but that's the point of engagements. You kind of have to look nice so he can suck it up. Okay, so along with talking about kind of, not political OCD, but just how OCD can latch to a million different themes, like any theme it can latch onto. So I wanted to share some of the weirder things that it's latched onto, like kind of random, in my experience with that. And then lately I've been, I'm still on my dancing grind to feel better in my body. And I actually have hit a new feeling of feeling like actually like, oh, I kind of look good when I do that. And I have a little bit more confidence in moving and dancing. And I did not think I would ever feel like that. but I definitely have to keep it up because it goes away pretty fast. I had some people ask me what dance workout I do, and it's fitness martial. And it's, I don't know, I don't like active booty for every booty or something, but it's the fitness martial. He is so funny and so entertaining. And I don't think I could last 35 minutes or 40 minutes of a dance workout with anyone else instructing me because he keeps my attention. And the dances are perfect because they're not super advanced to where it's like really confusing, but they're not easy. So you're exhausted by the end. And I always check. My ex-husband taught me this because he was a personal trainer. He talked about how when you are burning fat and when you actually get into that mode, I don't remember what it's called, but if your stomach is cold, that means you're burning fat. Like that's something kicks in, and when your stomach is cold, it means it's burning fat, something like that. After a workout, I'll feel my stomach, and if it's really, really cold, I'm like, okay, I did something really good. Or if it's like kind of mediocre, it's like, okay, well, you know, it was okay. And usually after the dance classes, if I'm like going hard the whole time, my belly is freezing. So I love his workouts. He has free ones on YouTube. I've done some of the other ones because he does lives. Then he also just has different classes you can pay for, I think. Or maybe all he has is lives. I don't really know, but I just do them on YouTube. But they're really good if you're interested in doing that. That's who I suggest. There's a lot of other ones out there too. So let's get into the weird OCD themes that I've had. I talked about it at the beginning. So I just talked about this, but political OCD, where I'm scared that, like, I've had fears, or what if I'm like a communist and like just things that I don't actually agree with at all and things that I would never agree with. It's like, but what if you kind of want to be, or what if you are one, and what if you read about it and then you became one and then you lost sight of all of your values and blah, 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 blah. And then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And so any kind of radical extremists is like what my OCD will cling to. And then another thing is when it's kind of political and harm mixed together. So being scared that what if I get so angry with one party that I harm someone, or that I like punch someone on the street, or, you know, and it gets darker and aggressive or harmful because of the political events happening. I don't know, being angry at a party or whatever. And it'll kind of put images in my head, and it'll make me feel like I'm going crazy. It's kind of a mix of like harm, religious, political, all of that stuff. That's been creeping back up, and it kind of threw me for a loop because it's been a really long time since that has ever like surfaced. But obviously that's like the talk of the town. So that's what I'm thinking about a lot. And that one is I mean, it's scary. OCD is scary. That's the point of it, is it scares you. So you do the things and you do the compulsions. It really knows what you're scared of, and it really knows what you don't want to be. And so it just keeps sending you. And so that's why it feels so real. And I think I have to relearn that time and time again in recovery, is like, okay, but I know that logically, like I've been told that before, but to really believe that, and also I have to remind myself of that, because otherwise it gets so hard to not do compulsions, because I'm trying to protect myself from becoming a monster. I'm trying to protect myself from hurting other people, because what if? And that's the disorder, everybody. Woohoo. Oh, my sister called me. I'll have to call her back in a second. Another weird theme that it's latched on. Okay, why is she blowing up my phone? She just said, call me when you get a sexy. Ha 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 ha. Sec. She's going to keep texting me. I already know. If I don't answer her in 1 second, or if I don't pick up her call, she just keeps calling, and then she's like, what's up? Hello? Then it really makes me feel like the younger sibling in the situation, because I just reply with what? Another weird theme is trying to feel symmetrical in my body. So I don't know how to explain it other than one side feels heavier than the other side. Or with my face, sometimes like one side is a little bit like more sharp and pointy. And so sometimes when I look at myself in the mirror, that's all I can see. And it bugs me like a lot. And it makes me really anxious to look at. So sometimes I wouldn't look at myself. But now knowing what I know, I will keep looking at myself. and feel anxious and feel yucky and disgust. And it's not a good feeling. I don't like doing it. It's not like it's fun, but I think it helps. And that's normally that's really not a sticky theme at all for me, but those types of themes have come into play with just my body and like symmetry and stuff. Another kind of theme that was weird to have is career. Like, which career am I going to go into? I think this is something that is hard anyways, but I think OCD kind of amplifies it to where it's like all I think about all day, every day sometimes. And I'll think about it all day. Like, that's the only things that have been consuming my mind, or should I do this career, that career? But I like this, I don't like that. What if I do this career and then I'm miserable in 5 years, and then, that happens and I'm never happy? And then what if I choose this career and I love it, but then it's selfish that I'm doing it? And what if my real calling is to do something else and I don't know what it is, and then I'm scared that I missed out on it? And I think, again, to reiterate, it is a very normal fear to have. So just because you're scared of some of these things, and some of these things come every once in a while to make you a little bit anxious, doesn't mean you have OCD. I don't know, but I don't think it does. They're very normal things. But for me, it's when I can't even decide, and I stay completely complacent, and I'm also thinking about it all day without getting anywhere. And it's just exhausting because there's no answers. I'm not doing anything about it. And it's just ruminating without actually solving anything. So that's another weird one. And to kind of go off of that, with recovery and anxiety, OCD, something that's helpful to remind yourself about and to remind myself with is that with rumination, it's not problem solving. So rumination sometimes gives the illusion that you are intelligent because you are ruminating about everything all the time. For me, I'm like, well, if I let go of that, then what if I'm not going to be sensitive or intelligent or all of these things? But that's not ruminating, because, and from my understanding, what's unhelpful about rumination is you're thinking about the problems that you have over and over and over and over and over and over again, but you're not doing anything. And it's not even like pros and cons. It's just a constant battle. And there's really no point in it other than trying to kind of just distract yourself from actually doing some things and moving forward in one way, and just accepting that this is what I'm doing. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm going to have to just trust that this is right. It's really hard, and it's a really sticky place to be in when you are stuck in rumination, because it is exhausting and you're not going anywhere. Like, you're actually not going anywhere because OCD is lying to you, saying if you just keep thinking about it more, you're going to get this answer, you're going to get this clarity, this surety, and you're just not going to get that with ruminating. It's definitely an action based around fear and control, probably for me a little bit, is trying to control things. That being said, for career-wise, it's something that I should probably talk to my therapist about and work on. I've been starting to go again, like a little bit less frequently, but we've made a lot of progress. And when I talked to her last time, she was like, you should keep coming back because, there's still a lot more that we can do. And I felt good about it, and I trust her. I really like my therapist, so I'm going back more normally now. And I feel way better about it. I don't feel as overwhelmed or negative about it as I did before. I feel very positive and hopeful and like moving forward and actually getting stuff done. I'm excited, but we definitely need to talk about that and work on that. So I definitely need to bring that to her attention, and then we can find exposures around that. So those are the ones that come to mind that were a little bit stickier, but were just kind of random. And I didn't think that you could have OCD about these things. A lot of these things are very normal to be a little bit anxious about for a while, but with OCD, it makes it like you can't do anything and you're totally in this horrible cycle and not actually moving or getting anything done productively. I also had a rough day at church. I don't know why church is still so triggering for me, but it just is. And I go and I trust and I try to trust, and it's so hard, and I feel so anxious and so sick the whole time. And I feel like all of these feelings from when I was little and when I was a teenager, it's like they all come back when I go to church. I think it's something that I really struggle with, to be honest. And I don't really have an answer for that. I just have to trust God and keep going and work with my therapist on how I can make it a more positive experience, because I don't have all the answers right now, and I'm definitely still doing things wrong in recovery and in life, and I'm not done learning. You know, no one's done learning. You're not done learning. You're not done figuring things out. Even when we think that we have it all figured out, you don't. You just don't. I hate to humble you, but you don't know everything that's going on, and you don't have everything figured out. We can make peace with that. I feel like I can make peace with that, but at the same time, I do want to push myself and be uncomfortable with, and really, really accept the fact that I don't have everything figured out, and I do not know everything, and I have no control over most things. Just had to be real, because I don't ever want to put on like a fake persona. So something else that I was thinking about today and this week. Oh, I didn't even get to this. I talked about dancing and then I went off on something else. But I was going to talk about how dancing made me think of like how I see my body, and I don't know what has changed, and I feel like women fluctuate a lot throughout their lives with how they feel about their bodies, but I don't know what has changed about the way that I think about my body specifically, and how this happened really. But I actually weigh the most that I ever have in my life, but I actually feel the most confident I ever have in my life with my body. And it's because I think, I've worked on it for a long time of just accepting my body exactly how it is. And I saw this quote I saw this video of this girl saying, and she probably got it from someone else and we all recycle, but it says, your body is not a trend. I feel like that kind of put into perspective, and that put my thoughts into a simple sentence of how I feel. Sometimes with the exhausting, changing, you need to look this way. Your nose needs to be like, the perfect nose that everyone always compares each other's noses online. Your lips need to look a certain way. You should be totally symmetrical in your face. And I think we do it a lot through just comparing ourselves to other women and comparing other women to other women, because I think it's kind of a lie if you think that you don't do that, because I think everybody does that almost as a default, because that's how kind of we've been, that's just how the world has worked, And so it takes a second to be like, wait, why do I care so much about that? Like, I don't have to immediately compare things to other things. I don't really have to compare myself to other women or compare other women to other women, or, like I want to be the it girl. And so that looks like this and this and this, because that's never ending. That you might get to a point where you feel really beautiful and, whatever. And that's awesome. But your body is ever changing, and it's exhausting to keep that up. And it's really expensive to keep that up if you're going to, like with the beauty standards and the beauty trends. And so I noticed that a long time ago, and I just kept telling myself that I'm not going to let myself do that, even if sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should get some lip filler, or hey, maybe I should get some. And this is not to say that any of this stuff is bad, because I know it has helped people be really confident. So I really don't care what other people do to their body. But for me, in my personal well-being and my mental health, I know how finicky that can be. And so I made a personal decision to just never do any of that work, no matter what, unless that had something to do with my health, or it could actually improve my overall function in life. And it's not the end of the world if I did. So it's not like that big of a deal. But I think that kind of helped train my brain into thinking that my body's going to fluctuate in size and shape. And I'm totally okay with that. I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat pretty healthy. And I'm going to value my body for what it's supposed to do for me. I think after years kind of slowly training my brain, it's now hit a point where I just feel happy in my body. And I don't care if my arms look big. I don't care if my legs aren't perfectly symmetrical and have my knees are perfect, and I don't care if my nose is too pointy or anything like that, because those are the exact insecurities I've had before, and I was determined to not have those anymore, because I was allowed to love my body for the way that it looked, all the imperfections and everything. And when I'm healthy and when I'm really focusing on my health especially, it's like I'm not going to beat myself up for not looking like the beauty standard. That changes. So when I tell myself I'm beautiful, it's not compared to what beauty standards have been and are. It's really just like my body is functional and it's beautiful, and that's it. I think sometimes the way that I would think about my body was I wanted to be the it girl. I wanted to have it all and to show and say, look what I have. I have the perfect body. I have the perfect, I don't know. It's like you just want, and you want to be perceived a certain way, and you want to be perceived because for me, it felt like I had more power that way and I didn't have to be as vulnerable because people saw me in an intimidating way. I'm very passionate about doing whatever you want with your body, but I'm also a big advocate for mental health and the reality of the constant need to change something in your body to fit a certain way that you think you need to be in order to be you, I think is an exhausting and inaccurate way to find peace within yourself. I totally could be wrong. That's just been my experience. And it is not easy. Let me tell you, it is very hard some days, because sometimes I still see those things that I have, that I used to have insecurity about, and sometimes they pop up as an I still have them, but they do not last that long, and I quickly remind myself that my body is beautiful. And I think also what helped my mindset with that is I thought about it very rationally. I kept thinking about it in a very rational way of, am I doing the best that I can right now with the energy that I have, with the circumstance that I have to keep my body healthy? And the answer is normally, yeah, I try to do all the stuff. Okay, great. So if that's the line, so if you're doing that, what is the point in further destroying your own self-worth and speaking poorly to yourself and doing any of the actions that further hurts yourself or self-sabotages, because you're already doing the best that you can. And even if you're not doing some of the things on the list of things that you should or could be doing to help your body, there's nothing to be gained. Honestly, it was when I started yoga teacher training that I kind of learned a lot about my body and how to give gratitude to my body. And one of the best ways was to not demand change from it immediately, and to also accept it exactly how it is right now. And through that and getting rid of all the wants and the needs in regards to what your body should look like in order to perform in this world. And so that's only my fear, is I don't want to do that to myself, because I am totally capable of doing that, as is everybody else, because we can all be pretty silly and very imperfect and a little bit foolish. I'm definitely foolish. So I would probably fall into that if I didn't constantly hold myself accountable to not do that. Anyways, the only reason I talk about that is I think it just makes me sad sometimes when I think about how I would speak to myself, and also how I see other young women speak to themselves and compare themselves to other people online and even in person. And I think that's just really destructive, and it's exhausting for them. Okay, well, hopefully any of that made sense, again, like I always say, but I'm going to do a Dear Abby, and then we will wrap it up for today.
Dear Abby, I've never submitted anything to a podcast before, so I'm kind of freaked out. But I was wondering if you have any insight on just feeling like you're on the wrong path. So for me, I have like 3 or 4 semesters left of school, and lately I've been feeling like I'm just in the wrong program, doing the wrong thing, but I'm also the kind of girl who gets lots of aspirations and then like forgets about them, or things like fizzle out. And so I can't tell if this time it's just another sort of like me wanting to like just do something different because I'm getting bored of what I'm doing, or if it's actually like I'm doing the wrong, like pursuing the wrong career and I should be doing something that I love more. But I think I'm also just really scared of wasting time and having like all these years of college under my belt. That like the knowledge and the experience is good, but like credit wise they didn't count for anything, and then let like money and time that I wasted, sort of. I'm not sure. I just was wondering if you have any advice about not being afraid to waste time, or like staying committed to things, or generally feeling confused in your 20s. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that came at a great time because I was just talking about that. Not planned, by the way. That happens sometimes on the podcast. I feel like I'll talk about something a little bit and then someone will ask a question and then I get to dive in deeper. That is a great question, and it's kind of an intimidating question. I'm not going to lie, because I don't know. I don't know. But I think the best thing that you can do is, if you're almost done with school, like one semester, I forgot how many semesters you said, but if it's not a lot of school, I would just finish it, just to have that under your belt. If you've already gone this far, and this could be horrible advice, I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think the best thing you could do is, if you have another idea of what you want to do, write down pros and cons. Okay. Start with the basics of that. Figure out what you really want. What are like the most important things of a job for you? There's like that little graph that's like, it makes money, you're good at it, it's fulfilling. And it's like, you all want a little bit of everything. There might be multiple jobs. Some people feel a huge calling to go to one thing. I don't feel like that's me, because I get pulled in a million different directions. Like, I would want to be a paintist. I'd want to be a painter. I would love to be an artist and just be able to paint all day and sell prints and paintings. But I also really love psychology, obviously. I love learning about human behavior. That lights me up inside, but so does painting. But also, I really like just helping, supporting women, which is why I'm looking into being a doula. But also, I love analyzing data, and I'm a big data nerd, and I also like crunching numbers, and I like technology, and I'm pretty good at all of those things. I'm not fantastic at just one of them. I'm like pretty good at all of them. So I totally get the feeling of having a million different aspirations, because you're like, oh my gosh. And then also a part of me wants to be freaking like a pop star. Everyone wants to be a pop star a little bit, just a little bit. Right? I get the whole having a million aspirations. I think some people have like, this is what I want to do, and they can totally commit. And then some people like us, it's really hard to commit to one thing because we don't want to miss out on something else. I don't have the solution yet, because I'm also in my 20s, and I'm also really confused at times because I'm scared to commit to one thing, because then what if I miss out? What if that's what I was supposed to do and I'm on the wrong path now? I'm probably just making you more anxious. Sorry. Maybe if I was older, like 40 or 50, I would have amazing advice to give. But I think because I'm in there with you, that's all I can offer you. The only other thing I can think of is sometimes when we don't commit to anything because we're scared we're going to miss out, and we don't just finish something or fully commit and fully try it, I don't think we're ever going to know. I think when we don't fully try something and fully immerse ourselves, I don't think we're even going to end up wanting to do that thing, because we don't even know what it would be like to actually do it, because we're always half in, half out. I would say if there's something that you're really interested in, even if it's not your major or whatever you just graduated from or graduated with, it's okay to pivot, but I would maybe finish this out, try something in regards to it. And if you don't want to do that at all, then don't do it. But pivot to something that you really, really, really are interested in. And you're like, okay, I'm going to commit to this for 5 years. And it's not wasting time. It is not wasting time, because you're building a foundation for something. Even if you end up in, if your timeline's 3 years, I'm going to commit to this for 3 years. And if I hate it, then I move on to this. And that way you've at least committed your time and your energy. So you know what it would be like to do that for the rest of your life. But also, sometimes you don't have to do the same thing for the rest of your life, especially if you get married. If you have someone else that likes what they do and they're really consistent and they have a steady income, sometimes you can kind of mess around, do a couple different things. It just totally depends on your situation. But I know you hate when I say this probably, but you got to list out what values do you have in life? And it doesn't have to be like super, I don't know, people say that's like, feels like super conservative, like you can only have certain values, but that can be anything. It could be, one of my values is adventure. That's a value of mine. I want to have adventure. Adventure is out there. But I love the spirit of adventure. It's so exciting, and it's exhilarating, and it's fun, and it's friendly. And so list out what your values are, especially in terms of a job and what you want to be engaged in your life. And if it's just you want to provide and you want to provide a lot of money, then that's your value and that's okay, you know? So I think sometimes that's helpful because then you can really get to know yourself and you can put your anxieties at rest a little bit because you're able to go towards what you actually really care about. So that way, when you have these doubts and these anxieties that come up, you're like, okay, I know we thought about this. This was a very thought out plan. So hopefully any of that is helpful, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I'm with you. We just got to commit to something and see if it works out. It's fun, but it's also so daunting at the same time. It's very scary to be in your 20s. I don't know what it is, and people talk about it all the time. But I think especially our generation is just, it's weird. It's a weird time because you have millions. You see so many people online doing a million different things when almost every other person in history and other times did not see that many options of everything. We see options of people that we can be with. We see options of careers that we can have, of different financial situations, of different circumstances, of different places to live. And then we have to choose. And it's like, well, of course we're going to feel like we're missing out on something because everything's different. And now we see all of the things that are good and bad about everything, but mostly we see all the good things that are about every different situation. So then it always feels like, well, what if I'm going to do the thing that's going to take me away from having that perfect life that it looked like they had? Or, you know, I think it's okay to be confused for a while. I think sometimes that's just like what you have to go through to find what you really want to do. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to Dear Abby. We almost are at our 100th episode, so I'm very excited to celebrate that with you guys. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm really excited, and I cannot believe that it has been this long. Thank you for anyone who has listened from the beginning, or if you're new, thank you for listening. My episodes come out every single Thursday on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. YouTube, sometimes I post a little bit late, so be patient with me on that. But Spotify and Apple should both be uploaded like 12 a.m. the day of. So they should be available, you know, from that time moving forward. But YouTube is a little bit late, so I apologize sometimes. I'm doing a lot, okay? All right, I have a normal 9 to 5 and plus a bunch of other things. So have a good weekend. Have fun. Welcome into the holiday season. We'll do some fun holiday stuff. And also I'll probably stream again on sometime this week or soon because it was fun and I had some people join and it was fun. So thank you for listening. Have a good weekend. Love you. Bye. 우회전 taking a ride to journey 눈치 보면서 들어가 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들 I am Am I recording or am I streaming?